geological timescale spans over 4 billion years. Life first emerged 3.7 billion years ago. The first modern humans only appeared 300,000 years ago. A great many wonderful and beautiful creatures have lived on this planet we call home. Howdy, and welcome back to Tom's Dino Show and Tractor Supply Co. I want to spend a little bit more time talking about who Allosaurus was. This is Big Al. Big Al is a famous Allosaurus skeleton. Big Al is small for an Allosaurus and wasn't fully grown at the time of its death. What makes Big Al special is that this one skeleton had almost all of the bones. While we don't know what Big Al died from, we can say that Big Al had multiple broken bones and a bone infection. It probably didn't feel too good. Last time I mentioned that Allosaurus could survive really bad injuries. I wanted to show how we know that. This is the arm of an Allosaurus that was broken and healed improperly. The area that is circled is where the bone fragments fuse together. The white line is the spot of the fusion between the bone fragments. The bones didn't heal correctly as it should have reattached at this spot on the lower fragment and on this spot on the upper fragment. Finally, this microscopic scan shows the two locations where the bones actually fused. With modern technology, we can see the damage and the healing within dinosaur bones. This is really useful information to learn more about the dinosaurs and how they lived. One really interesting thing about Allosaurus, it's one of the two dinosaurs to show signs of an avulsion fraction. Avulsion fraction is when the muscle pulls part of the bone off. In case you didn't know, your muscles are attached to your bones and are what you and Allosaurus use to move around. Anyway, the injuries are commonly found on the hands of Allosaurus. We think they got this injury from grabbing struggling prey like Stegosaurus. I think it's really cool that we can find evidence of injuries from the bones of long dead dinosaurs. Then we can use this information to learn about how these creatures lived. By the way, the other dinosaur that had the same injury was the T-Rex, but instead of being in the hands, it was in the arms. Another interesting thing about Allosaurus is we have found them in Portugal. The ones in Portugal were smaller than the Allosauruses in North America though. You might remember when I talked about stratigraphy. Well, this cliffside in Portugal is where they found Allosaurus, and they have marked out the cutoff between two stages in the late Jurassic period. Here's Allosaurus' cladogram. Now I'm a bit tired of talking about Allosaurus. Let's move on to another dinosaur. We're still heading back to 152 million years ago, and we're still in the Morrison Formation. We're going back to meet a wonderful dinosaur called Dryosaurus. Dryosaurus' name means tree lizard. They were named this because Dryosaurus lived on a large plain and couldn't climb trees. I could climb a tree, but no one calls me Tom's Dino Show and Tractor Supply and the Tree Boy. Life is really unfair, but you learn how to move past it. Dryosaurus is one of the smaller herbivores from the Morrison Formation, which might have made it a common prey item for larger theropods, like Ceratosaurus. Dryosaurus had a really cool looking skull, which is just an opinion, not a fact, but since it's my opinion, it is a fact. Dryosaurus did have oak leaf-shaped teeth, but since oak leaves come in many different shapes, it's not a very useful fact. Some folks think Dryosaurus got its name tree lizard from the shape of its teeth, but they would be wrong. Dryosaurus was originally thought to have lived in a forest. Here's Dryosaurus' cladogram. But enough talking about Dryosaurus, let's go meet Dryosaurus. We came across this Dryosaurus walking around. With it being night, the animal doesn't seem too worried about predators, and so far we haven't seen or heard any. Oh geez, there's actually two of them. That one startled me. We don't know if Dryosaurus lived in herds or was a solitary animal, but we think Dryosaurus might have lived in herds. They may have filled the same ecological niche or role in nature as the modern deer or antelope, and might have lived similar lives to them. Dryosaurus didn't have to deal with hunting season, so that's a plus for them. Dryosaurus would have used its speed to outrun predators. Something seems to have spooked them. I don't see or hear anything, but perhaps they smelled something. Or I have startled them with my amazing looks and laugh-inducing jokes. Many women and men have described me as unsettling. Good. They didn't go very far. And they don't appear to be upset by my presence. Dryosaurus is drinking water because they don't have access to high fructose corn syrup. It might not be healthy, but research indicates it's addictive. I'm not sure where the other one went, but they shouldn't be too far away. What is this? Some sort of mating ritual? Let's watch. Better luck next time, buddy, or perhaps this is just part of a very long ritual. We may never know. But for now, we're gonna head on back. Dryosaurus was a smaller dinosaur that probably used its speed and agility to escape predators, like the modern gazelle. We've actually found remains of Dryosaurus eggs, young, and adults. It's very rare to find bones of young dinosaurs, making Dryosaurus a very interesting creature to study. Much like Allosaurus, Dryosaurus as of 2014 has been found in Portugal. Also like Allosaurus, Dryosaurus was part of the Bone Wars, which is what we're going to talk about next. A long time ago, like 1877 to 1892, or more realistically, 1897, in western United States, but also other places like eastern United States, the Bone Wars. These two fellows, Edward Cope and Othniel Marsh, were two early paleontologists who engaged in a violent fossil hunting competition that lasted almost 2 decades. The men were driven by a compulsive need to outdo each other and were willing to commit crimes to succeed over the other. This has become known as the Bone Wars or the Great Dinosaur Rush. Edward Cope was born wealthy and an accomplished naturalist before he met Marsh. A naturalist is a person who scientifically studies the natural world. Cope was also a professor of zoology at Haverford College. Othniel Marsh, on the other hand, grew up poor. He was fortunate as he had a very wealthy uncle, George Peabody. Marsh convinced George Peabody to found the Peabody Museum of Natural History in Connecticut. Marsh also got to be the head of that museum. The museum still exists today on the Yale campus and is considered one of the largest university-run natural history museums in the world. Cope and Marsh met in Germany in 1864 and actually got along. Both spent time together and even named a species after each other. This budding love was not to last. Like the opposite of Romeo and Juliet, their hatred goes on for a long time. The two would publish scientific papers discrediting each other. On one occasion, Cope reconstructed a plesiosaur but placed a head on the tail, which Marsh corrected publicly. Cope would go on to buy every copy he could of the paper with the error to hide his mistake, but it was too late, for he was already a dweeb. In 1872, both men would go to the western United States to dig for bones. When Cope arrived in the West, he hired some folks to help him find fossils, but it turned out some of them were employed by Marsh. This wasn't some clever scheme to hurt Cope. Marsh was really mad at the guys for crossing him. Both men would go on to find fossils of mammals that lived between 30 to 50 million years ago. Both men would claim the fossils they found were new species, even while both knew at least some were already discovered by other people. In 1873, Marsh would start his last expedition for fossils. After this, he would just pay people to find and send him fossils. Due to the tensions between the Native Americans and the U.S. government, Marsh would bring soldiers with him as well. He was able to gain support of the Sioux Chief Red Cloud, and would actually go on to lobby the U.S. government on their behalf. The rivalry between Cope and Marsh would simmer until 1877. In 1877, Marsh received a letter about fossils being found at Como Bluff. He moved quickly and discovered some of the most famous dinosaurs today, like Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, and Apatosaurus. But Cope was hot on his tail. In 1878, Cope sent dinosaur rustlers to steal bones from Marsh. The men would continue finding bones until 1892. During the years, they got into all sorts of hijinks. One of Marsh's men switched sides and began working for Cope. Marsh's men were locked out of Como Bluff's train station by Cope's men. Marsh and Cope had their people destroy bones and bone beds to prevent the other from getting their hands on any fossil. The two men's workers even attacked each other with rocks. Despite both men committing highly documented crimes, neither ever faced any punishment. Good thing that this would never happen in the modern world. In 1897, Cope would die from illness. Before his death, he challenged Marsh one last time to have their brains measured to see who had the largest, but Marsh declined. Between the two men, they would discover 136 new dinosaur species, including Triceratops, Allosaurus, Coelophysis, and Camarasaurus. They found thousands of bones, enough to fill entire museums. We might only be talking about dinosaurs because of them. Before the Bone Wars, research into ancient animals wasn't something the public was really interested in, but the drama between Cope and Marsh helped make the dinosaurs famous. But on the other hand, other paleontologists left the field because of those two, like Joseph Liddy, who found some of the first dinosaurs in America. They caused damage to fossils, they damaged the reputation of American paleontology for decades. They liked to claim fossils were new species while knowing that they weren't. They commonly reconstructed fossils incorrectly. Both of these mistakes would slow down our scientific understanding for decades to come. But what happened to both of them once their war was over? Well, both men passed away broke, socially ruined, and academically discredited. In the end, we can say that this is the one time in all of human history in which two grown men allowed their emotions to cloud their judgment, causing them to behave reckless and foolish. Thank you for watching Tom's Dino Show and Tractor Supply Co., and we'll see you next time.